BigCountryPreps.com. I'm Evan Wren, and this is the Countdown to Two-A-Days series, our daily look at an area football team and the key questions we're going to be answering about that team and our upcoming preseason preview on August 20th at BigCountryPreps.com. I'm with my partner, Dan Youngblood, via Zoom, and tonight, Dan, we are talking about one of the most storied programs in the area, the Cisco Lobos.
Yeah, and the Cisco team was one that made a surprise run in the playoffs last year, went 3 rounds deep after a little bit of a tough district season and obviously a very difficult district, but really kind of gained some of their mojo back there in the postseason. And it'll be a lot of kids back from that team. 15 of their 25 Letterman return, including 6 offensive and 8 defensive starters. So a good group back. Obviously, they'll have some questions to answer, and we'll talk about those here in just a little bit. But right now things look good for Cisco going into 2025.
Before we dive into the Cisco Lobos tonight, we need to remind you folks to please hit the subscribe button. Also, hit that little bell, and you'll get notifications each and every time that we post a video on YouTube. Remember, a subscription at YouTube is free. Just hit that subscribe button and the little bell, please. All right, Dan, the Cisco Lobos. Some key questions that we're going to have for them going into this next season. And there are a few. It's going to be interesting. Go ahead, fire away.
I think the first one, I talked a little bit about kind of that surprise run they made in the playoffs. Obviously, anytime Cisco makes a playoff run, you're not shocked, but this was a team that did struggle a little bit in district play with lopsided losses against really good Stanford and Holly teams, and then a lopsided loss against obviously an improved Anson team. But they were able to bounce back from that and win 3 straight, including 2 playoff games before falling again to Stanford in the playoffs. So my question is how much confidence was gained by this returning group with that run they made? That kind of put Cisco back in a place where they like to be, which is making deep playoff runs. Coming off that season, how much confidence, how much momentum are we going to see? And what kind of start will that kind of propel them to? Because again, you've got 15 Letterman back from that team, 6 offensive, 8 defensive starters. Call it from a good JV team. There's a lot going right now for Cisco, and I would think with the success they had in the postseason last year that they'd be entering this year on a high. So I'm just kind of interested to see how that works out.
By Cisco standards, a couple of years in a row where it's been maybe less than what we're accustomed to seeing from them. They were 8-5 last year. It's still a good season, and they made the playoffs, made a nice run, but not up to the standards that we're accustomed to seeing. But I'm going to make a bold prediction. I'm going to say that by the time this time next year, we're going to be saying Cisco's back. By this time next year, we're going to be saying Cisco's back, and they will be. They've got a good group of young kids coming up. They have a JV that was 10-0 last year. 10-0. They're very high on the junior and sophomore classes that are coming up. My question for this year is how much of an impact is that young group, that core young group that's coming up, going to have? How big of an impact is it going to have? Uh, they might be back this year for all we know. It's still a bit of a young team, but this program's moving back where we expect them to be, and they will get there.
And that kind of goes a little bit into or at least it touches on that because you say they may be back by next year, and I agree definitely. But I think you could be right. It could be this year, and if they are, I think it will be a defense that plays a large role in that. They've got 8 kids back that started last year for their defense, a lot of experience, and then you're going to be replacing the guys lost with kids from a 10-0 JV, some real talent. So my question is, how good can this defense be? And this defense was solid last year. They had a few hiccups against the really, really good offenses on their schedule. So Stanford was able to get them. Hawley, Anson had a nice game against them. But you're talking about that experience from that group. I would expect them to take a major step forward. And if they can, you could see Cisco make that type of jump this year, particularly in a district where Stanford lost a whole lot of a really strong senior class from last year's state finalist team. Hawley lost one of the area's top quarterbacks in Keegan Abels and some other really key players. So it could be an opening in this district for somebody. We talked about this with Anson last night, but with for somebody to maybe take a step forward, could Cisco be that team? And if this defense plays the way it looks like on paper that it might be able to, that could happen. So I'm interested in seeing what kind of leap forward this defense can make with the experience that it has back.
Yeah, the saying goes that you're going to have a loss for every sophomore that you start, but I don't necessarily hold to that. We have seen very young teams play very well, and that could hold true for Cisco this year.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
And the other part is on defense in particular, you're only plugging in three kids. So I think
Defensively, they're going to be good.
when those sophomores or juniors are joining senior kids who have played before, I think that it lessens the learning curve on those kids and helps them kind of assimilate more into the unit.
Either way, definitely another step forward for the Lobos this year.
Agreed.
All right, we're going to be taking a look at Cisco's schedule for 2025. But before we do that, we need to thank a few of our sponsors. Beginning with For the Love of the Game Broadcasting and our old friend Terry Slavens, owner of K-Lakes 93.5 FM out of Brackenridge, 97.7 FM KATX out of Eastland, Classic Country AM 1330 out of Graham, 94.7 FM KWKQ out of Graham, KROO 1430 AM out of Bracken, KWBY 98.5 FM out of Ranger. That is For the Love of the Game Broadcasting. Also, Rob Durham, sales consultant at Bear Chevrolet Buick Cadillac up in Breckenridge. If you're in the market for a new vehicle or a used vehicle, call Rob. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever want to meet. Give him a shout at 254 559 2266. That's Rob Durham up at Bear Chevrolet Buick Cadillac in Breckenridge. And finally, Cavalry Resources and Construction, located up in Breckenridge, serving the entire big country, offering custom standing seam roofing made on location and all commercial roofing applications. Give Kobe Walker a shout at 254 246 5546. That is Cavalry Resources and Construction in Breckenridge. All right, and with that, it's time to speak about the Lobos schedule for 2025. They will begin with Clyde on the road on August the 29th. A home date with San Angelo TLCA will follow that on the 5th of September. A road date against the Breckenridge Buckaroos at Buckaroo Stadium on the 12th of September, and then followed by home dates with Coleman and Friendship Memorial. That's, by the way, Friendship Memorial is a new school.
Mhm. And then they will follow that on with their open date on October 3rd, and then get right into district with a toughie at home against Stamford on October 10th. They'll host Abilene TLCA on the 17th of October, go to Hawley on the 24th, host Anson on the 31st, and then wrap up their district schedule at Olney on November 7th. So uh, you look at that schedule, and this district, while maybe a little bit down, is still going to be really tough. So it's going to be a fun match, a fun race for those four playoff spots.
All right, the key game of the year. If we're going to pick one key game of the year, what are you going to go with for Cisco? I've already got mine picked. We'll see if we agree.
Uh, I think if you're looking at the schedule, I think you feel good about winning that TLCA game. You feel good about winning that game at Olney. So I think this Cisco team feels good about getting back into the playoffs. I think that Anson game on Halloween at home is going to be a big one for seeding. That would be the game that if I were pointing their schedule, I mean, you want if you're Cisco this year, you want to be able to compete with the Stanfords and Hollies. You want to be able to challenge at the top of the district. But I think that Anson one's the one that could be the most important for seeding if Stanford and Holly do happen to get you early in district.
If Cisco is good enough to shoot for a one or a two seed, then that Anson game, I mean, I think they will be good enough to challenge for that. But if that's the truth, if that's the case, then that Anson game becomes a must win for them to get there. If they
Mhm.
if they lose to Anson, then it's going to hurt them, shooting for one or two, just depending on how they do against Stanford or Holly. But at the very best, you'd be looking at a tiebreaker, but you want to win it. So Anson becomes a very important game.
I agree. And this district's it's there's a pretty good gap between the four teams that I think are going to be in the playoffs and the two that I think will miss them. But those four playoff spots this year, the race for seeding in this district could be really fun because I think the gap has closed between Stanford and Holly at the top and Cisco and Anson in that second tier. It could get really fun. You could have a 3-1 district champion this year or some sort of a tie or jumbled mess in this district. So this is one I'm really excited about. And I think Cisco's going to be part of that.
One to circle too, though. One to circle. If Cisco really takes a step forward this year, they're hosting. They are playing host to Stanford on October the 10th
Right off
at
the
the
bat.
Graveyard. So that's going to be an exciting game if Cisco takes a major step forward with those young kids.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll just have to wait and see how it pans out. But that's one to circle on the calendar right now.
Yeah, that one could be interesting for sure.
All right, and with that, it's just about time to wrap up this edition of the Countdown to Two-A-Day series, the Cisco Lobos. But before we do that, we want to remind you again, August 20th is the big day here at Big Country Preps. That's when we're going to release our annual preseason preview. It'll have more than 40 player features. It'll have team previews of all the 11-man teams that we cover. It'll have opinion pieces, stats, predictions, you name it. It's going to have it, and it'll take you a while to read it all. Frankly, it'll take a good while. There's going to be a lot of material in this thing. Don't forget, August 20th at Big Country Preps. That's the big day.
In the meantime, we appreciate you joining us for this episode of our Countdown to Two-A-Days series, and make sure you come back tomorrow when we feature the Holly Bearcats here at BigCountryPreps.com.